Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. I have some news to share with you. So I will start with a video, victims account about who is killing civilians in Oromia region. There is a wide campaign by different media against Oromo Liberation Army. This is a legitimate organization, armed organization, fighting for Oromo's freedom to end the atrocities in Ethiopia. So OLA is a legitimate organization fighting for the Oromos, but different media outlets, many of them owned by Amara or Friends of Amara ethnic group. There is a continued huge campaign against this organization, and even if when you see when the number of the reporting on the just last week on Tole, Gimbi area, the numbers are exaggerated. No evidence on social media or on camera. Some are reporting 2,500, some are reporting 1,500, some are reporting 400. So it's a very huge campaign against Oromo Liberation Army, and accusing Oromo Liberation Army is targeting civilians, especially the ethnic Amara. So this is there is a reason behind this, and they tried before. The one you see in Askadur Nagga, he went to the United Nations, tried to expose OLA and those Oromo youngsters fighting for their freedom to be listed as terrorist organizations. So there's a huge campaign. There is huge propaganda against OLA forces to group them like Al-Shabaab or Al-Qaeda, so that the legitimate Oromos struggle will be dismantled, and Oromos fight for independence, for freedom, and to the Oromos' legitimate right to resist will be eliminated. But so far, they are not successful. They tried so many times. Still, they are now trying with exaggerating numbers, blaming OLA repeatedly, despite the victims' account and different other reporting, and OLA itself is denying. So I want to start with a video. The victim, what the victim is saying about who is killing Oromos, who is displacing, who is displacing the civilians, especially the ethnic Amaras. You will hear, it's in Amharic. If you want, you can take it to a translated to get a clear message. I will try to translate it, what she's saying. So this is from the victim's account about the ongoing displacement, civilian killings. Who is caring? She's clearly saying the government, the Abiy Ahmed administration, the regional and the local special forces killing civilians, displacing civilians, and telling the Amaras to leave the area, telling them you are not belong here. So let's listen to that, and I will also have OLA press release, update on Tigray region, and other other news. So thank you again for coming back. Today is June 22nd, 2022. Let's listen to the victim's real account, what she's saying, who is killing, who is displacing them.
የሚባለው ሸኔ ነው ይሉናል፣ ግን ሸኔ አይደለም። ሸኔ አይደለም። ይሄንን ያመጣብን እኛ መንግስቱን ራሱ ወረደው እስከወራጃው እስከ ዝሆኑ ድረስ ነው እኛን ውጡ ከሀገራችን ላይ የአማራ ተናጋሪ አማርኛ የሚናገር አገራችንን ልቀቁ፣ ተነሱ ተዝህ እየተባል ህጣኖቹን እያረዱ ሴቶቹን እያረዱ ነፍሰ ጡሪቱን ዘጠነኛዋ ገብቶ ሆዷን ሽልቅቅ አርጓ ወጣና ልጁን ሰጣት። በእጇ ሰጣት። ሩሃ ሳይወጣ ማለት ነው። ትንሾቹ ልጆች ለባል የደረሱት ልጆች በብልታቸው በእንጨት እየሸቀሸቁ አንገታቸውን እስከሚቆርጡት ድረስ የሚያደርስብን ስቃይ እንኳን ለተማረ ብሔር አይደለም ላልተማረ አሳዛኝ ነው። እንኳን እኛን አይደለም እንኳን ያየነውን አይደለም ለሰማው የሚያሳዝን ነው የኛ ነገር። ከቤታችን ንብረታችንን እየጣልን ማን ነው የእናንተ ንብረት የሚወስድ እያሉ ሱቃችንን እየዘጋን መጋዘናችንን እሳት እያቃጠሉ ነው ያባረሩ። ግቡ ሀገራችሁ አይደለም እየተባል ተቀባይ መንግስታተን ልዩ ኃይል አለኝ ብሎ ልዩ ኃይሎቹን ይልክልናል። ጨርቃቸውን ውሃ ገዝተን እናጥባለን። እንጀራ የሌለንን የኛ በሰኔ በግንቦት አዝመራችን ዱር ቀርቷል። እየገዛን ታለው የሌለው እየተበዳደር እየገዛን እያበላን ውጡ ሀገራችሁ ውጡ፣ ኃይል ከብዶባችኋል፣ ቢሊየር አለ በሱ ትመታላችሁ እየተባል እየወጣን ልዩ ኃይሎቹ ናቸው እኛን ሌሊት በ10 ሰዓት ከቤታችን አስወጥተው የመቱን። የዛን ጊዜ አሳዛኝ ነው የኛ ነገር መቼም። ስንቶቹ ሽማግሌዎች እጉሬ እየገቡ ስንቶቹ ህጣኖች እጉሬ እየገቡ አሁን የኛ የራሳችን ማለት ነው ስንት ልጆች አሁን ተፈርክሰው ሐኪም ቤት ራሱ የገቡ ልጆች ያሉን። ጥይቱን እንኳን ማለት ነው 2 ሚኒሾች ቢኖሩን እነሱ ተቋቁመው ተጥይት።
Okay, I will come back to the other videos.
Everyone loves my mom's baked goods, but the truth is 80, maybe 90% of it is all semi-homemade. So easy to do.
Okay, apologies. So I'll come back to the other 2 videos. So that is the situation. That is the reality. She is saying that the government forces, Abiy Ahmed administration, those in from local level to higher level, conducting these atrocities, these killings, this destruction of properties, the killing of women, the killing of children, and all the atrocities she is describing is conducted by Abiy Ahmed security apparatus, by special forces, not OLA, not Oromo Liberation Army. This is a very, very important evidence from the first witness account. And please translate it, the whole speech, and keep it for record for future references. So ongoing accusation against OLA. OLA is killing civilians is false. OLA is not targeting ordinary citizens who are not armed, unarmed. I mean, unarmed civilians are not the target of Oromo Liberation Army. Clearly stated, Oromo Liberation Army struggles against the tyranny, against the Abiy Ahmed forces who are killing Oromos, who are destroying Oromos property, who are, causing all these atrocities, who are pushing Oromos to join OLA. So it's not against Amara, it's not against, Gurage, Walaita, or whatever it is. It's not against these ethnicities living with Oromos. The target is the regime forces. So this propaganda and this exaggeration of the number has a target. The target is to gain attention from the United States and the European Union or United Nations, so that they can list OLA as a terrorist organization like Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab. Then it will make difficult for Oromos in diaspora community and other, so that they cannot support in another way, which will lead to the collapse of Oromo's struggle against tyranny in Ethiopia. So that's the target. It's not about civilian deaths caused by OLA. It's not. It's not. The target is Oromo Liberation Army, who is conducting successful operation against Prosperity Party and approaching to the victory. So to prevent that victory, to prevent that Oromo liberation, they are, doing the numbering game and the accusation game against OLA to get the terrorist listing. I hope they will not be successful at this time. They tried in the past, they failed. They will fail again because they are based on false propaganda, baseless propaganda, as you heard from the actual witness. Thank you. So let's continue with other issues. Here we go. Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, released a 2-page statement about the accusation in Tole, Gimbi, and other related issues. I will read it very quickly. The Abiy regime's militia are responsible for Tole massacre of West Wallagga. OLA press release. The Oromo Liberation Front, Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, condemned in the strongest possible terms the killing of civilians in Tole village of Gimbi district in the West Wallagga zone of the Oromia region. Despite the genocidal regime's maligning misinformation and propaganda campaigns, the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, as a political party and a liberation army, was committed to its singular objective of emancipating the Oromo people from multi-layered suffering under successive repressive regimes, thereby ensuring sustainable stability in the Horn of Africa region. There is no political or military objective, none whatsoever, that our army would generate by targeting innocent civilians. As repeatedly indicated, the Oromo Liberation Army fights with system of oppression now led by the Prosperity Party of Abiy Ahmed, not with individuals, much less defenseless innocent civilians. We do everything in our power to protect civilians, Oromo and non-Oromo alike, and we are putting our lives on the line for their liberty and dignified existence in a country that has disregarded their basic rights. It has now become obvious to any close observer that the Abiy regime uses the OLA as a scapegoat for any atrocity crimes it commits against civilians, many of which have become undeniable against mounting evidence and have consequently been considered by the regime through the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission EHRC reports. Often the regime perpetrates premeditated and unprovoked attacks on civilians for the sole purpose of disparaging the OLA. If recent memory serves us well, the massacre of our Karayu Gada elders, the truth of which escaped between the regime's 5 fingers in a matter of weeks, was masterminded primarily to defame the OLA. The current massacre in Tole of West Oromia is no different. The regime organized a militia group called Gachana Sirna, meaning the guardians of the regime, that wear artificial wigs to impersonate members of the OLA and commit atrocity crimes in Oromia. While disparaging the OLA is the major goal across the crimes the regime commits in Oromia, the current attack in Tole has other specific objectives. 1. After the recent joint operation of the OLA and Gambella Liberation Front in Gambella had been completed, the regime began a killing spree targeting Oromo civilians across the city of Gambella in the usual retaliatory attack. Gambella Special Forces, Federal Police, and associated regime security apparatus have been hunting down Oromo civilians and extrajudicially executing them in broad daylight. Social and conventional media abound by evidence of execution of Oromo civilians for in Gambella, evidence that undeniably implicates the regime in the killing of civilians in Gimbi and many localities of central Oromia was also coming out in recent days. The regimes engineered the current massacre in Tole to cover the headlines regarding the Gambella and other Oromo massacres. 2. A horrible video in which members of the regime's army and associated militia group massacre civilians in Wollo during the so-called Menelik campaign, very likely committed in late December of last year, has also circulated on social media since 17th of June. The crime was perpetrated by both the regular Ethiopian security forces and the Fano militia, and the time of the crime, the Fano militia was under the regime's army command. The Abiy government has to engineer the Tole massacre to change the headlines from the Wollo Oromo massacre. 3. There is international pressure on the regime to organize an inclusive peace process to resolve the Ethiopian civil war. Unlike Tigray, the Prosperity Party wants to be the only voice representing the Oromo people in any possible peace talks. To that end, the regime is attempting to denigrate the OLA, to deny the Oromo cause, spearheaded by OLA, any voice on the international stage and any seat on the possible peaceful resolution of the Ethiopian civil war. Independently verifying what happens in West Oromia by credible third person is virtually impossible. The regime has blocked the region from the rest of the world in an attempt to prevent the international community from finding out the atrocity crimes that it commits. It keeps the region in the dark precisely to conceal its crimes, and despite the deafening silence, many in the international community know it. As always, OLA calls for independent investigation into the alleged atrocity crimes committed in Tole areas in West Oromia. As we have repeatedly indicated in our prior press releases, we reiterate our call for any credible independent investigation, not only in the current allegations, but also all previous ones, so that perpetrators are held accountable, serve justice to the victims, and adequately compensate their families. Stabilizing the horn begins in Oromia. Victory to the Oromo and all oppressed people. OLA High Command, June 20, 2022. So that is a press release from OLA and OLF High Command. It's clearly indicating they are not involved in this accusation. They are repeatedly calling for independent investigation in Oromia region. But Abiy Ahmed refused because they know who committed the crime. They are the one committing the crime according to OLA statement and the lady, the victim, spoken on the video you saw it. So that is the situation. So we call on international community to pay attention and about this ongoing accusation. Call on Ethiopian government to allow independent investigation to verify who is committing those genocides in Ethiopia. So it should be forced. They should be forced. They have committed many crimes. Their hand is full of blood, and they are trying to accuse others. So we call on international community, European Union, United States, UN, Human Rights Commission, to pay attention, to call on Ethiopia to allow independent investigation. So this one is in the Oromo community in Canada. They did very good. They achieved a milestone really to be recognized as Oromos and present their case. Let me read. This is just one page. Congratulations to Canada Oromo diaspora community, especially for Oromo community leadership in Edmonton and Calgary, and their supporters for successfully getting the permission and the recognition for the first time to participate in worldwide cultural festival or showcase takes place in Canada from July 30 to August 1st, 2022. This is yearly event. This happens every year. In this festival or cultural showcase, Oromos will present their cultural food, cultural clothing, music, art, their history, and related content independently as a country for the first time. This is really a milestone achievement which came through several years of challenge against the Oromos. This is a victory should be replicated in Minnesota, other states, Europe, Australia, and in other continents. Due to the excessive pressure and other atrocities Oromos are facing back home, the opportunity for Oromos to have their own independent country, Oromia, is fast approaching. Congratulations again to the Canada Oromo diaspora community, their leaderships, and friends of Oromos for winning such a difficult battle and represent Oromos and Oromia in Canada's worldwide cultural festival. Oromos and friends of Oromos are invited to attend this historical and high magnitude event, which takes place in Canada from July 30 to August 1st, 2022. Credit for this story, Oromia 11 Media. So this is a high magnitude achievement, and the community of Canada, or community leadership and the friends of Oromo in Canada fought for many years, failed multiple times, but they didn't give up. Now they won the permission, they won a recognition. So they now represent themselves, not under Ethiopia, but under Oromia. So they have the chance now to represent their own culture in the same way they are doing the Oromo Massacre every year in Minnesota and other places. So this is a huge achievement. It's not easy, but they did it. So Concerned Citizens Media, again, congratulates the leadership, the Oromo community in Canada, Edmonton, Toronto, Calgary, and others for achieving this huge milestone to represent Oromos and Oromia. Congratulations. And you are also invited to attend if you have time and the money. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission also released a statement on the video, the genocidal video circulating on social media, the Menelik Brigade atrocities against the Wollos. So this is a short statement. Ethiopian state-appointed Human Rights Commission said in a statement late on Saturday that a video circulating on social media showed government security forces carrying out at least 30 extrajudicial killings in December 2021. Government forces killing civilians, not OLA, not others. Government security forces shot and killed at least 30 people, saying they were members of OLF Shane group. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission said, citing conversation with witness. Ethiopian government spokesman Legese Tulu, military spokesman Colonel Getinet Adane, and Amara Regional Administration spokesman didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. The Ethiopian Human Rights Commission, which said it had geolocated the video to a part of Amara region called Dewa Chafa Warada, called for a full investigation and said that the killers should be held responsible. So they called for an independent investigation. In March, the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission reported that all sides in the conflict had committed human rights violations, including extrajudicial killings, which may constitute war crimes and crimes against humanity. Credit for this, Reuters. So Ethiopian government forces conducted the killing of civilians. I showed you the video, a graphic video, unloading those civilians from the truck and shooting them mercilessly with multiple gunshots. That's the situation under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Still, he is sitting there, and he's cheating Ethiopians. Really, Ethiopians are just belittled, ignored. They are hungry, they are jobless, they are insecure, but still they have this guy as a leadership, prosperity as a leadership, and Abiy Ahmed as a leadership. When the civilians killed, he is planting trees. We have such kind of leadership thanks to Ethiopians. They allow him. They didn't fight. They didn't come out to protest like Sudanese. What they doing? They are fighting inside and accusing each other instead of targeting the failed leadership. The failed leadership. That's the situation. civilian deaths in Mali. This is press statement from U.S. State Department. The United States was deeply saddened to learn of the violence in Bandigara and Gao regions of Mali this past weekend, resulting in the deaths of more than 100 civilians. This development comes at a time when ongoing violence in Menaka has also killed numerous civilians and displaced thousands more. The United States stands with the Malian people in the face of these grotesque acts of violence against civilian population, and our thoughts are with the families of those killed. We wish a swift recovery to those injured, and we will continue to work with the Mali's accountable international partners to build a brighter and more peaceful future for all Malians. Here's the last one, devastating earthquake in Afghanistan. This is again from U.S. State Department, Anthony J. Blinken. The United States expressed deep sorrow for the victims of today's devastating earthquake in Afghanistan, and we offer our sympathy and prayers to those who lost loved ones in the tragedy. The people of Afghanistan have undergone extraordinary hardship, and this natural disaster compounds an already dire humanitarian situation. U.S. humanitarian partners are already responding, including by sending medical teams to help people affected, and we are assessing other response options. We stand with the people of Afghanistan and will continue to lead the international community in responding to their humanitarian needs. So that is a press release on the earthquake in Afghanistan and the civilian deaths in Mali. So thank you, and let's share a couple of videos and end today's presentation. There we go. The first one is updates on European visit to Tigray and what they say. It's a positive development. It's good for these people, but still not enough. Here we go.
The European Union has urged Ethiopia's government to lift restrictions on fuel supplies to the war-ravaged Tigray region, warning that shortages were crippling the distribution of emergency aid. The EU's Commissioner for Crisis Management was speaking after a visit to Tigray's capital.
More needs to be done. Much of the blockade still remains. There is a need to lift restrictions, especially on the provision of fuel, on cash transactions, and so on. As for essential services, with this we mean electricity, with this we mean telecommunications and internet, with this we mean banking system. And I explained why it is important to restore the functioning of the banking system. Most people have sizable savings and they cannot access them, and they're hungry.
The 19-month conflict between Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's government and Tigrayan rebels has driven hundreds of thousands of people to the brink of famine and left more than 9 million in need of food aid, according to the United Nations.
before former President Donald Trump's supporters rioted at the U.S. Capitol, attempting to overturn the 2020 election results. Trump spent weeks pressuring election officials.
I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have.
In their fourth public hearing, investigators said Trump tried to change votes in several key states after he lost election challenges in U.S. courts.
A handful of election officials in several key states stood between Donald Trump and the upending of American democracy.
Trump has criticized the investigation, arguing that the committee's work is not fair or balanced, despite the presence of two Republicans, both of whom voted to impeach him.
It's a one-way street. It's a rigged deal. It's a disgrace, and it's never happened in the history of our country where we have no representation.
But Arizona Speaker of the House, Rusty Bowers, who voted for Trump in the election, testified the president pressured him to overturn the results through his lawyer, Rudy Giuliani.
He said, "We've got lots of theories, we just don't have the evidence."
Did anyone provide you with evidence of election fraud sufficient to affect the outcome of the presidential election in Arizona?
No one provided me ever such evidence.
In Georgia, Trump alleged dead people and undocumented immigrants voted, and he pushed officials to change the results so that Joe Biden did not win.
The numbers were the numbers, and we could not recalculate because we had made sure that we had checked every single allegation. We had many investigations.
The committee's investigators said Trump's lies had a human cost on election workers who faced death threats after he alleged they falsified ballots.
We had them counted 18,000 voters having to do with Ruby Freeman. She's a vote scammer, a professional vote scammer and hustler.
Do you know how it feels to have the President of the United States to target you? The President of the United States is supposed to represent every American, not to target one.
Intimidation, investigators say, is a threat to the future of American democracy.
If you can convince Americans that they cannot trust their own elections, that any time they lose it is somehow illegitimate, then what is left but violence to determine who should govern?
The committee will hold another hearing Thursday, looking at Trump's efforts to pressure the U.S. Justice Department into changing election results. Catherine Gibson, VOA News, Washington.
Okay, so thank you, VOA and African News, for this video update. So that's the investigation, January 6th investigation about past election. As I said before, if this investigation is allowed to continue until the end, I can say with 80% or 90%, the former president will be accounted for what he did against the legitimate voters in this country, plus some Republicans, some other Republicans who you heard it on different investigation, try to divert, try to intimidate the witnesses, did whatever they did, they will also be accounted for. So for the investigation to continue, the next midterm election, we should come out and vote for the Democrats. If not, this whole investigation will be turned down, thrown into trash, and then nobody will be accounted for. So we have to spread the warning. We have to spread the news, and share with our friends. And we have to get ready to vote in the upcoming midterm election and help Democrats win so that they can keep the majority and continue this investigation to make this former president, his associates, those Republicans accountable, what they did, how they supported this claim, false claims, cheating, false, all false, no credible evidence, but still He is pressuring lawmakers, governors, representatives, all of them. He was crazy about power, really. He lost, but still he wants to keep. This is the United States. This is not Africa. You cannot do that. So thanks to the law of the land, he was not successful, and I hope he will be accounted for the deaths and the injuries occurred at the capital here. The other thing is Tigrayans suffered enough. Abiy Ahmed is still, the Abiy Ahmed administration is still choking them. He is not allowing them to have water, electricity, banking system, internet, medicine. He is choking them, and he is, releasing a little bit, giving them a little bit air, suffocating them, taking time, attempting to cheat the global community, try to get the dollar so that he can buy drones and heavy machineries to kill Oromos and other legitimate resistance in that country. So I hope the Europeans get what he's doing. There is some opening, but not enough opening. Not enough opening to have a normal relationship with Abiy Ahmed. So the pressure should continue. If Tigrayans are Ethiopians, they should not suffer under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. They should not suffer. There is no reason for him to dictate the lives of more than 6 million Tigrayans. So, the situation, the accusation against OLF, be the voice for this legitimate armed struggle. Fight against this propaganda, this accusation by different media to make OLA as a terrorist organization, or like Al-Qaeda or Al-Shabaab. I hope they will not be successful. That is a game. That is a game. So they can shut down Oromo's legitimate movement, Oromo's legitimate fight against the tyranny in Ethiopia. Thank you again for joining me. I will be back with other news and updates. Be safe and so long, everyone.